Hello, everyone. We are in the middle of chapter 10 in Lessons in Tanya, part 1. Likutei Amarim, which is the first section, probably still the first book. If you have the physical book, it's still going to be in the physical first book, I believe. Chapter 10, we're halfway through it. We got finished talking about well, I shouldn't say finished, but for this chapter, he was talking about the incomplete Sadiq, and then we were going to get into the complete Sadiq. So let's go over this real quick. In one Sadiq, the remaining evil may exist of the element of water. In another, the evil may exist of a spark of the element of fire, and so on. This subdivision of levels is qualitative based on the type of remaining evil. The Alter Rebbe will now describe that word a quantitative subdivision, depending on the degree to which the evil loses its identity within the good. In one Sadiq, the vestigial evil may be such that the proportion of good to evil could be described as 60 to 1. The evil in another Sadiq may be more minute, so that it is overwhelmed by a proportion of good that is 1,000 to 1, and so on. Yet, to borrow a term from the law concerning non-kosher foodstuffs, where in certain cases of error, the rule is that even a preponderance of 60 parts kosher to 1 part non-kosher is sufficient to render the entire mixture kosher, since the non-kosher food is no longer capable of tainting the mixture with its flavor. We may likewise say in our case that a preponderance of good over evil to the degree of 60 to 1 is also capable of preventing the expression and perception of the remaining evil. In the Alter Rebbe's words, the subdivision also takes into account the degree to which the remaining evil is nullified in the good because of its minuteness, bitulo. So the root word is bittul as well. So there's like keywords in Hasidus, particularly the Tanya, that gets used over and over again. Bittul is one of those things. Bittul being submission, or I guess it's translated here as nullified. Whether in 60 times as much good, for example, or in 1,000 or 10,000, and so on. These various sublevels in the ranks of incomplete Sadiqim are the levels of the numerous Sadiqim found in all generations, all of whom belong to the category of the incomplete Sadiq. As we find in the Gemara, 18,000 Sadiqim stand before the Holy One, blessed be he. Thus, though many attain the level of tzaddik, they are in fact incomplete tzaddikim. But concerning the rank of the complete tzaddik, so I think this is where we might have left off. By concerning the rank of the incomplete tzaddik, by concerning the rank of the complete tzaddik, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai's statement applies. I have seen superior men, B'nai Aliyah, and they are but few. B'nai Aliyah, children of going up? I don't know. The honor of being called up to recite one of the blessings over the Torah. Okay. So during Torah readings in shul and synagogue, it's called an aliyah when a Yisrael is called up to the Torah to read not a parsha, but part of the parsha, an aliyah. And it's actually called an aliyah. I think we might have another term. And they are but few. But an aliyah, an aliyah means to go up, to ascend. The reason that the complete tzaddikim are called b'nei aliyah, literally men of ascent, is that they convert evil and make it ascend to holiness. It is similarly written in the introduction to the Zohar that when Rabbi Chia wished to ascend to Heichal, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah. Heichal, Lehichal, heavenly shrine of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, he heard a voice come out and say, whichever of you before coming here have converted the darkness of the world to light, holiness, and have transformed the bitter taste of their animal soul and evil inclination to sweetness, holiness, only those may enter. Another reason for their designation of B'nai Eliyah. The Rebbe notes that two reasons are given for the use of the name B'nai Eliyah for the same level of tzaddikim. These are the higher level. One reason corresponds to the appellation complete tzaddik, while the other corresponds to the term tzaddik who knows only good. As we have seen, the complete tzaddik is so called because of the degree of his love of God. The explanation appropriate here is the latter, that his love is utterly selfless. That tzaddik who knows only good is so called because of his eradication and conversion of evil. The explanation appropriate to him is the former, that he elevates evil to holiness. Even their divine service in the area of doing good and their fulfillment of Torah and its mitzvot, is for the sake of above. And their service is directed toward a most high level, toward the loftiest heights. Their divine service is not intended merely to attach themselves to God, but serving him through Torah and mitzvot, so as to quench the thirst of their soul, which thirsts for God. So I think this is where a lot of people, there are people who say they believe in Hashem, but they don't actually want to do Torah and mitzvahs, or heaven forbid they say Torah and mitzvot have been done away with.
Well, there's a lot of them that say that.
Yeah.
May I add to what you just read?
Sure.
It says Rabbi Simeon was the quintessential complete tzaddik. Those who wished to enter his domain in heaven had to exhibit a similar quality. They had to be more than an incomplete tzaddik. They had to be among the lofty men, the men of ascent, who transformed the evil within their soul into good, the darkness into light, the bitterness into sweetness. These tzaddikim do not merely sweeten the bitter, they transform its bitterness into a new kind of sweetness. They do not merely drive out the darkness, they convert the darkness to light.
Excellent. The divine service of tzaddikim of lower levels may indeed be for the purpose of stilling their thirst for God and their desire to cleave to him. For indeed, the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvot satisfy these needs. As it is written, Ho exclaimed, I've never heard that. Ho, exclaims the prophet, all who are thirsty for godliness shall go to the waters of Torah, i.e., let them engage in Torah, which is likened to water. This is a big deal for non-Jews, in my opinion. There's a lot of non-Jews that are thirsty for Torah today. As it is explained elsewhere, that the thirsty ones of this verse refer to those who thirst for godliness. So don't shut off the tap. The prophet's words prove this point. Were he addressing those who thirst for Torah, he need not exclaim, Ho, nor direct them to its waters. Whoever thirsts for Torah will find it readily available for study. Rather, the prophet is addressing those who thirst for God, advising them to slake their thirst for him through Torah, which binds one to God. The men of ascent, however, whom we have been discussing, are beyond this level of divine service. They do not study Torah or perform mitzvot for the intention of quenching their own thirst for godliness, for such service is, in a subtle sense, self-serving, as it is motivated by one's desire for a certain spiritual profit, namely the bliss of closeness to Hashem. So it's basically saying, the lessons in Tanya is saying that you're not doing it for the sake of heaven. You're doing it for the sake of quenching your own thirst or your own appetite or some such. Rather, their service of God is as the Tikkunei Zohar explains, that which our sages have said. Who is a pious one? A chassid. So yeah, again, I don't like that term when it's translated from chassid, because different thing. One who is a chassid. So the root word is chesed, not like pious, not like strictly doing, but it's attached to chesed, which would be strictly doing. Kindness, chesed. He who is benevolent, mitchesed, toward his creator. Oh no. The Tikkunei Zohar comments that Kono, usually translated as his creator, is here to be interpreted as his nest, derived from the root ken, nest. And thus the chassid is he who is benevolent with his nest, i.e. his source, God. This benevolence toward God consists of uniting the Holy One, blessed be he, with his Shekhinah, the divine presence, so that the light of this union reach and be felt even in the lowest worlds. Wow. So being a chassid means uniting the Holy One, blessed be he, with his Shekhinah, the divine presence, so that the light of this union reach and be felt even in the lowest worlds. So you're trying to make union, as is also explained in Ra'aya Mehemna, literally the faithful shepherd, alluding to Moshe, the title of one of the parts of the Zohar. On Parshas Titzei, in the manner of a son who exerts himself for his father and mother, whom he loves more than himself, more than his own nefesh, ruach, and neshama, and who sacrifices his life for their sake to redeem them. Wow. Should they be held in captivity, and as is also explained elsewhere. Such is the divine service of men of ascent. It is wholly altruistic, motivated only by a desire to please God and make his presence felt everywhere. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to explain that the two aforementioned interpretations of the term men of ascent accord with each other and are in fact complementary. It is a Kabbalistic axiom that the elevation of man, initials of mein nukvin, very cool, literally the feminine waters, affects a corresponding descent of Mad, initials of mein dehurin, literally the masculine waters. I've heard people spell that or say that mein duchrin. This means that the arousal of the feminine level i.e. the recipient, which in our case means the efforts of man below in actions directed upward towards God, causes a reciprocal arousal of the masculine level, i.e. the giver, meaning in our case, God's benevolence, as it flows downward and is bestowed upon man. Applying this to the service of men of ascent, we find the following. Wow, so this is saying that those men are initiating this, right?
Right. You have to have stimulation from below first.
Right.
Or, you know.
Yeah. Applying this to the service of men of ascent. So these are special men that there's not many of them, it sounds like. That aspect of their service mentioned in the first interpretation, that they elevate evil and convert it to good, constitutes an ascent of man. The aspect mentioned in the second interpretation, that by their service of love they draw down God's presence upon earth, constitutes a descent of Mad. For every mitzvah that they perform as a channel for the descent of God's presence is an expression of God's benevolence. Thus, the two interpretations are complementary, since the ascent of Mad is what causes the descent of Mad, as stated above. The Alter Rebbe employs Kabbalistic terms in his explanation, which are explained in Chassidut at length. They will become clearer in the course of further study. In the Alter Rebbe's words, both interpretations are complementary, for by refining the good found in Klipat Noga, I want to read this. Literally the shining klipa, the illuminated shell. The mention of klipa in which the light is intermingled with the shell differs from the other klipot in that spiritual potential, the brightness within it, can be redeemed by man's constructive intent while making use of the physicality in which it is vested. So there are two types of human animalistic souls that derive from Klipat Noga, the Yisrael, the Jew, and the second would be certain types of non-Jews called Hasidei Umot HaOlam. And these animal souls, that's found in the blood, is what gives us a lot of our emotional traits and things like this. Those have potential to do goodness. Those have potential to be elevated, as the men of ascent do by converting their animal soul, which is derived from Klipat Noga, to good. One elevates the feminine waters, man, affecting unions in the higher realms, so as to cause masculine waters, Mad, to descend to this world. So as a non-Jew, you have to figure out how to do this. How do you elevate your nefesh behemoth, your animal soul? And there's plenty of videos that we've made weeks prior that talk about that. Basically Torah and mitzvot. These masculine waters are the waters of kindness that flow into and are contained in each of the 248 positive mitzvot, which are all in the nature of kindness, of, I would assume, chesed. The waters of the waters of chesed. Um, 248 mitzvot. Yep. Kindness and mind. Duhreen.
Hey, James,
Duhreen. Yes.
there's 248 bones in our body.
Yeah, exactly. So those bones, our bodies are connected to the 613 parts of our bodies. Our 613 parts are all connected to the 613 mitzvot. The 248, so the king has 613, and he's got these 248 parts as well. So the Yisrael, the people, it appears to me that people that are doing these mitzvot, whether they're commanded to or not, like there are Svei Dinim, there's two kinds of basic people, from my opinion, that are considered people who are lo mitzuve ve'ose, not commanded and does. There are people who are they're doing the mitzvahs, but they have no kavana and they don't understand what they're doing. And there are people who do understand what they're doing, but they're just not commanded to do. But anyways, that's kind of where we are when it comes to the non-Jew. We're in that are, what's considered mitzuve, what's considered commanded, what's considered having Kabbalah. These are this is the issue, really. Like really when it comes down to it. I know we talk about the Ger Toshav stuff and things like that, people that are like Ger Toshav, that touches on it, but it really comes down to this issue. Do we have Kabbalah? What gives us Kabbalah? What I mean by that is acceptance of mitzvahs. Where are we getting these mitzvot from? Are they coming from Hashem, or are we just doing them because they just seem like the right thing to do, and we're doing them the way the nations do them, like say tzedakah? Or are we doing them because the Torah says so, because Hashem says so? Is that considered Kabbalah? And two, another aspect would be, how does Yisrael now see us do those things? Do they have Kabbalah of us? Do they have acceptance of us? And how would they go about having acceptance of us? These questions, once they are answered, that is Geula. All that relationship is Geula. And in a way, it's a application of a fractal of what this is. We're talking about the masculine, the feminine waters. Very similar. The interaction between the Ger, the non-Jew who is sojourning with Hashem and Torah, that type of individual is part of this relationship to interaction in the interaction with Yisrael. So so let me give you an example from my opinion. Mercy, I think it was Mercy who brought this up. You give tzedakah. I know Dixie gives tzedakah. You are like the man of ascent here. Okay. You are producing you have bittul, that they call it nullification, but it's like you're subjugating your animal soul or whatever, and you're giving some of your sustenance, you're giving up tzedakah to Yisrael. Your Yisrael can accept that sustenance, that tzedakah, and now they have a mitzvah, lechem lechichuso, a commandment to sustain you for giving the tzedakah, as long as you're doing the 7 as a ben noach, you're not an idolater like a goy. Okay, that's this interaction too, but it's in a physical sense. But that creates union. So when you are giving tzedakah, and Yisrael keeps that tzedakah, not only do they accept it, but they keep it. That's a union in the mitzvah of tzedakah. And so tzedakah is going to be one of these 248 mitzvot. And I know every single one of you know and have felt what it's like to give tzedakah to a Yisrael, probably, right? You can probably feel that connection. It's opening up this channel of waterways. You're giving some water, they're giving water, and it's such a relief, isn't it? Like, isn't it a beautiful thing? It creates a union between you and the Yisrael through just one of these positive mitzvot. Now imagine if we were all engaged with 248 mitzvot. What if we were all engaged with 613 mitzvot? We were abstaining from the, what is it, 365, the other ones, the negative. You're abstaining from those, and then you're keeping and doing these. That's geula on multiple levels. So like that's just so cool. Why is that cool for non-Jews? Because non-Jews can give tzedakah. We can partake in this conduit, and if anybody tells you different, well, maybe they don't respect the Rambam, I guess, but the Rambam explicitly says, Hilkot Malakim 10:10, that you can give tzedakah, and Yisrael can keep it, and Yisrael has a mitzvah, l'chiyuso, lechem l'chiyuso, to sustain you. They have and in other words, it creates this conduit, it creates this connection, and you get to see that and experience it. When you do a positive mitzvah and it involves another person, you see that their face just like light up. Your face lights up. It's a great feeling. There's so many dynamics here because we're talking about masculine and feminine waters here. But this conduit, you can experience this through all the different mitzvahs. And it's just so amazing. And, heaven forbid that people would try to stop that union and this unification between what was the word, the Shekhinah and I forget how, the uniting the Holy One with his Shekhinah. So it's all different. It's all different explanations, but it's all this union. It's all unification of the name of Hashem. So beautiful. So yeah, like Mercy, 248, you got all the bones of your body completely subdued and going for that unification. This term, let's hear. It's all in the nature of kindness or benevolence in the masculine waters. Go ahead, Mercy.
So I just found something.
Tell us.
It looks like it's from the Zohar. Let me read this real quick. It
Sure.
says, okay, so be wholehearted with your God. This is from Kabbalah Online through Chabad.org. Be wholehearted with your God, your God, Deuteronomy 18:13. The word for wholehearted, tamim, also means complete or whole. Thus, this verse enjoins us to be whole, not lacking anything in our relationship with God. Specifically, the Partsuf of Zeir Anpin is the archetype of the human form, which is mirrored in the anatomy and physiology of both the human body and the human soul. Just as the body comprises 248 physical parts, limbs, and organs, both the soul and Zeir Anpin comprise 248 spiritual parts. Just as a physical body has 365 nerves and sinews, both the soul and Zeir Anpin possesses 365 spiritual nerves and sinews. The 248 parts of Zeir Anpin are the 248 active commandments, and its 365 nerves and sinews are the 365 passive commandments. Every component of the human soul and every component of the human body correlates to one of the 613 components of the spiritual body of Zeir Anpin. Zohar 1, 170b, Tikkunei Zohar 30, Zohar 2, 118a. And it kind of goes on. Basically, it's so if you were to add the 365 to the 248, that's where you get the 613.
Yeah. Taryag mitzvahs.
And then it goes down here and it says the commandments we cannot fulfill ourselves because of the temple and the priestly duties and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
We fulfill vicariously through those who can fulfill them. In addition, we should study the laws regarding these commandments, thereby fulfilling them at least virtually.
You're right. Yeah.
By learning how these commandments are fulfilled, we internalize them and in this way they become part of us, almost as if we had fulfilled them physically.
I mean,
And
yeah.
that's by
It's that-
Igeret
Kodesh.
HaKodesh. Yeah, 29.
That's, I think we're gonna read that. Egress. Oh no, that's the letters. That's letters. That's different. But yeah. Yeah, so you study the Torah, it's as if you fulfilled all the mitzvahs.
Mhm.
And why people want to not allow others that are not idolaters to not study Torah is beyond me. When it's so clear from Hasidus, from Kabbalah, this creates unification. I don't understand why they were wanting to stop and create disunity. Do your utmost. Like, just keep going. Do what you can do. You might not do it you might not complete everything in this life, but you're going to be working toward unification of Hashem and Geula. It's crazy why people would think, oh, you just stop at the 7.
And healing your body when you look at it from that point of view.
Yeah, right. You're creating complete unification. You're
Wow.
at least working towards it, right?
Mhm.
So it's so clear. And I just don't think enough people study this. So thank you, Mercy, for pointing that out.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's like, are we made in the image of Hashem or not? You know? They make it into something else. This term, masculine waters, as applied to mitzvot, means that the mitzvot draw God's holiness from above, i.e., from the higher realms downward, so that God's holiness be clothed in and revealed within the lowest realms, i.e., our physical world, as explained elsewhere. Thus, the two interpretations of the term men of ascent are complementary. So they both it's like a positive feedback loop, I guess. And men of ascent, that's really cool.
And you know that the wording there, it says our physical world. It can mean the world that which we live in, the earth, or it could also mean our bodies, because our bodies are like a universe, so that our body could be our physical world.
Excellent, yeah. Our
That's
souls
cool.
are derived from that klipa, which creates that concealment, and concealment is olam or helam. It's a world. So you're literally like piercing that membrane and injecting the revelation of godliness. Godliness is already there because Chesed and Gevurah are one within Hashem. So when we do mitzvahs, we're creating that conduit. We're piercing, and all those 613 different parts. We're piercing and creating the godly revelation. I want to say connection, but the truth is, I believe, is that Hashem's already there. We're just revealing it. And it's crazy to think that some people would say, oh no, non-Jews, can't have that revelation. It doesn't say that anywhere. Everybody's created in that image. Or you could say, well, I guess they're not created in that image. But then you're changing the whole dynamic, and I don't think many people would want to admit to that. Well, that is chapter 10. That was pretty interesting. We went over a incomplete tzaddik and a complete tzaddik, one who knows good. There's one, I think he mentioned that one knows evil and one knows only good, or I don't know if he used the term only, but we talked about mein nukvin and mein dehurin. Mein nukvin is the feminine waters. Mein dehurin is the masculine waters. So the feminine waters, I think, are from below, and the masculine waters are from above.
Correct. That would
Is
be
that
correct.
how is okay? God's benevolent. Yeah, yeah. That's really
So that's one of them. One of the things I think we can associate this with is that, I believe it's out of the third temple, or out of, the waters flowing out from the Temple Mount.
oh
I think there's supposed to be like a creek.
well, it's probably like the waters of Gan Eden. Wasn't there waters that came out of Gan Eden?
Yeah. And so, back in the late 90s or something, they were working on they were excavating underneath Temple Mount, and I guess they kept hitting water, and the water kept flowing out and flowing out from underneath it. And they were seeing that at that time as a sign of these feminine waters from below,
Hmm.
coming out as a sign of Mashiach and all of this, all of this water flowing out from the Temple Mount.
Yeah. There's so many angles like to view this in. It's really amazing.
It kind of also reminds me of like the waterfalls at En Gedi, where David was. It's like, well, wait a minute here. This water's flowing down, you know? So that's interesting too.
And isn't there like in Tehillim, doesn't it talk about men of ascents?
I
Like
don't know.
like written for the men of ascent or something like that. Does that make sense? Am I getting that wrong?
Well, there's definitely ascent and descent in Tehillim.
Yeah.
The Psalms you say going up from to the temple, and the Psalms you say coming down. That does sound, men of ascents does sound familiar.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. That kind of helps wrap things up. Well, it is 9:51. Do you guys want to keep going, or should we call it a night?
Oh, let's start chapter 11,
Chapter
fresh next week. I think.
Okay, start chapter 11 fresh next week,
Yeah.
everybody. I think that sounds good. All righty.
Very
Well,
good.
we've had a lot of classes go over, so we'll call it a night here. Yeah, thank you everyone for their input. Paul was in here. Oh, good. Paul's here. Thank you, Paul, for showing up. And
Good night. Yeah.
good night. Good night, Paul and Danielle, my wife. Thank you for joining. And Ernestine, thank you for joining. Russell and Teresa, thank you for coming in. And Mercy and Dixie. And thank you guys for your input. It was a good class. So thank you so much. And God willing, see you all next week.
All right. Thank you, James.
Yep. Good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
Jen.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Good night.